The medical station Arendor 7 orbited a bright blue star, far from the crowded sectors of the galaxy. Its shining domes and spinning modules were home to hundreds of species, each with different needs, each with different bodies. Nurses and doctors from countless worlds worked together, tending to every patient with precision and care. Among them was Zira, an alien nurse of the Valian species. She had 6 arms, each ending in delicate claw-like fingers, perfect for handling instruments and analyzing samples. Her skin shimmered with soft silver patterns that changed with her emotions, a natural feature of her kind. Though she had trained herself to remain calm, even in stressful situations, Zira had spent decades in the station's medical wing. She had cared for the tiny, glowing luminates, whose bodies could barely survive outside their warm tanks, and the tall, stone-skinned Gregorians, who required immense patience to treat. She prided herself on her knowledge and control. Nothing in the galaxy had shocked her, or so she thought. Then Alex arrived. Alex was a human, a species Zira had treated only a few times before. Humans were curious to most aliens. They were physically fragile compared to many species, yet somehow they survived in harsh environments. They lacked natural defenses and their bones broke easily, but they adapted, explored, and endured. Zira had read reports and studied charts about humans, but nothing in her database could prepare her for the energy this one human carried. Alex came aboard the station after a minor accident during a cargo delivery on the outskirts of the Orion. Belt, nothing serious, just a few scratches and a minor sprain, but the human's presence immediately stood out. Zira noticed the way Alex moved carefully but confidently. Unlike other species who stiffened in the strange, bright corridors of the station, Alex smiled, looked around with curiosity, and spoke softly to passing nurses and patients alike. "Good morning," Alex said politely to a small, floating creature called a floop, which had been wobbling nervously beside the corridor. The floop paused, blinked its translucent eyes, and seemed to relax under Alex's calm presence. Zira blinked. No alien had ever affected another species this way just by simple interaction. Her mind clicked through the possibilities. Could it be pheromones? A subtle psychic ability? No, humans weren't known for such powers. Zira decided to observe carefully. She made notes on her data pad, her fingers moving swiftly while keeping her eyes on the human. Alex's laughter reached her next. A loud clatter had echoed down the hall as a small robotic assistant dropped a tray of instruments. Most species would shriek, panic, or step back. Alex just chuckled and helped pick up the instruments, chatting with the robot in a way that seemed both natural and comforting. "This human behaves differently," Zira murmured to herself, "not only physically but emotionally." Over the next hour, Zira followed Alex's routine carefully. She noted the way Alex touched instruments and machines gently yet with confidence. She watched as Alex talked to patients of all shapes and sizes. Some were nervous, some were scared. Alex didn't lecture or command. Instead, the human smiled, listened, and sometimes simply sat beside them, allowing them to calm down. Zira had never seen such an effect before. She decided to run a small test. She brought a timid alien patient, a Krellin whose species was known for extreme shyness and mistrust of strangers, into the observation room. Normally, the Krellin would hide, refusing to speak or even look at anyone. But Alex simply sat nearby, speaking softly, explaining what was happening and offering a reassuring hand. The Krellin slowly, almost hesitantly, reached out. Its eyes softened. Within minutes, it was responding to Alex's words, smiling faintly. Zira's 6 arms froze mid-motion as she recorded the results. Her scientific mind tried to understand. How could one human calm an alien patient so completely? How could such a simple presence produce such profound effects? The human didn't notice Zira's study at first. Alex moved with ease, chatting with other nurses, helping sort supplies, and even assisting a small group of Felians, a species with multiple limbs that often made coordination difficult, to adjust to new medical devices. Zira's notes filled quickly. Reaction times, expressions, vocal tones, physical movements, and social responses. By midday, Zira began to feel something new. It wasn't fear or irritation or the usual professional curiosity. It was fascination mixed with wonder. Humans, fragile though they were, carried a kind of strength that no chart could measure. A strength that came from their behavior, their choices, and their interactions. It was subtle, almost invisible, yet undeniable. Zyra paused to reflect. She had always measured species by physical capabilities, how strong, fast, or resilient they were. But humans? Humans seemed to thrive not because of brute force or speed or natural defenses, but because of their adaptability, empathy, and courage in small, everyday actions. She thought of Alex helping the Krellin, laughing at the clumsy robot comforting other species. Zyra realized that the human way of interacting with the universe was different, and it worked. As the day went on, Alex's charm became apparent to others too. Patients who had been quiet or withdrawn began to engage more. Medical procedures seemed to go smoother. The other nurses commented quietly to Zyra about how the humans seemed to brighten the wards. Zyra nodded silently, watching with a mixture of professional interest and personal amazement. Later, during a break, Zyra approached Alex carefully. Humans were delicate in their reactions, and Zyra didn't want to frighten or offend. "You seem to have a calming effect on others," Zyra said, her voice soft but precise. "It is unusual. Most species do not influence others so easily." Alex smiled politely, tilting their head. "I just try to be kind and help when I can. I guess I didn't think it was unusual." Zyra noted the humility in the human's response. Most species she worked with would boast of their abilities or deflect attention aggressively. Humans, they simply acted. Zyra's database struggled to classify this behavior. Was it learned? Instinctive? Genetic? Social? She did not know. She only knew that humans were unlike anything she had seen before. The rest of the shift passed with minor medical tasks. Zyra continued her careful observations, noting reactions, expressions, and interactions. Each small action by Alex reinforced her growing sense that humans were remarkably adaptable creatures. Their minds and hearts, combined with their bodies, created a resilience no alien species she had studied possessed. As the station lights dimmed for the night cycle, Zyra finally allowed herself a moment to breathe. She watched Alex in the common area, chatting with a group of young aliens learning basic health practices. The human laughed, listened, and encouraged without effort or calculation. Zyra's patterns shifted slightly, a subtle shimmer across her silver skin that indicated deep thought. She realized she had learned something important in just one day. Humans were not only survivors, they were connectors, helpers, and innovators in ways that could not be measured with instruments. Their power lay not in their muscles or natural defenses, but in their actions, their choices, and their kindness. Zyra returned to her quarters later that evening, unable to stop thinking. She opened her datapad and began writing a detailed report, not just of Alex's medical needs, but of the human trait that surprised her so profoundly. She described the adaptability, the empathy, and the subtle courage humans displayed in every simple action. As she wrote, Zyra's own understanding of the galaxy shifted. Maybe strength was not only physical, maybe resilience was not only survival under harsh conditions. Maybe, she thought quietly, the most remarkable species in the galaxy were not measured by claws, scales, or wings, but by the heart and mind that guided them. Zyra smiled, a rare and small expression for a nurse who usually remained composed. She knew that tomorrow she would continue her study, observe more humans, and perhaps finally understand what made them so special. But for tonight, she allowed herself a quiet moment of wonder, thinking of Alex and the unexpected human trait that had already changed the way she saw life in the stars. And somewhere in the station, Alex laughed again, unaware that a single human presence had left a lasting impression on a nurse who had seen the galaxy's wonders and thought she had seen it all. The next day, Zyra returned to the medical wing earlier than usual. Her 6 arms moved almost automatically as she prepared her instruments, but her mind was elsewhere. She could not stop thinking about the human, Alex, and the strange effect they had on others. Zyra had treated many species, some gentle and some aggressive, some shy and some bold. But humans were unlike anything she had ever studied. Her curiosity grew into determination. Today, she decided she would study the human more closely, not just physically, but emotionally. Zyra had already recorded Alex's reactions, movements, and interactions yesterday. Now she wanted to see if the human's influence went beyond simple kindness. She wanted to understand why aliens who were normally fearful or anxious seemed to relax and even thrive in Alex's presence. The first test was simple. Zyra selected a patient who had arrived the previous night, a small, fragile creature called a Morellian. Its body was covered in soft, translucent skin, and it trembled constantly, even in the calmest environment. Normally, Morellians took hours, sometimes days, to feel comfortable with any nurse. Zyra brought Alex into the observation room with the Morellian, carefully noting reactions from both sides. Alex greeted the creature gently. "Hello there. Don't worry, we'll take care of you," they said softly. Alex's voice carried warmth and patience, simple words delivered with genuine care. Zyra watched closely. The Morellian's translucent body began to glow slightly, a sign of relaxation in their species. The trembling slowed. Alex did not rush. They allowed the creature time to adjust. Zyra noticed something astonishing. By the time she looked away for a moment, the Morellian was reaching out to Alex, its small tendrils wrapping gently around the human's hand. "Fascinating," Zyra whispered. "No species I have studied reacts this quickly. It is almost like they understand the human instantly." But it was not just the alien patients who intrigued her. Zyra observed Alex interacting with other humans on the station. Some were engineers, others were travelers, and a few were researchers. Whenever Alex spoke to them, even about simple topics like schedules or equipment, they responded with trust and energy. Zyra noted the differences carefully. While humans could argue or disagree at times, Alex never forced anyone to do something. Their influence came from encouragement and understanding, not authority. Zyra began to realize something deeper. Humans had a kind of emotional adaptability that no other species she had treated possessed. They could read feelings, adjust their behavior, and respond in ways that produced positive outcomes, not just for themselves but for everyone around them. This was not instinct, Zyra thought. It was intelligence, but more than that. It was intelligence guided by empathy. To test this further, Zyra arranged a group activity in the station's common area. She gathered humans, aliens, and robotic assistants into a controlled exercise, a minor medical task that required cooperation. The task was designed to observe leadership, communication, and problem-solving. When the exercise began, Zyra watched in awe. Alex did not dominate the group. They did not demand obedience. Instead, they encouraged participation, suggested ideas gently, and allowed mistakes to happen without judgment. Slowly, the other participants started adjusting, not because they were forced to, but because they wanted to. The human's influence was subtle but profound. By the end of the session, the group had completed the task efficiently, with everyone smiling and relaxed. Zyra's fingers trembled slightly as she recorded her observations. She had expected some degree of cooperation, but nothing like this. It was as if Alex's presence alone had changed the dynamics of the entire group. Afterward, Zyra approached Alex cautiously. She wanted answers, but she also respected the human's nature. "I do not understand," she admitted quietly. "Your species, it adapts socially in ways that others cannot. You do not command, you do not coerce, yet you lead, influence, and heal. How is this possible?" Alex smiled, tilting their head slightly. "I don't know if it's special," they said. "I just try to notice how others feel and help where I can. Sometimes it's just listening. Sometimes it's patience. That's all I know." Zyra paused. The explanation was simple yet profound. The human trait she had noticed was not something that could be measured with instruments or recorded in charts. It was a combination of choice, attention, and care, something no alien biology could replicate naturally. Zyra realized she was witnessing a unique kind of strength, one that had been overlooked by interstellar science for centuries. Later in the day, a new patient arrived, a nervous Varen, a species that rarely interacted with humans or aliens outside their colony. They were timid, shivering under a blanket-like membrane, and their eyes darted nervously around the room. Zyra was curious to see how Alex would handle this. Alex knelt beside the Varen and spoke softly, explaining the medical devices in simple terms. "These will help you feel better," Alex said. "You don't have to do anything alone." "I'm here," Zyra observed in fascination. The Varen gradually extended a limb, reaching toward the human. By the end of the session, the patient was calm, relaxed, and even smiling slightly, a reaction Zyra had never expected. Her mind raced. Humans could bridge gaps between species that otherwise remained isolated. Their strength lay not in physical ability, but in the power to connect, calm, and inspire others. Zyra realized that in a galaxy filled with conflict, complexity, and misunderstanding, Humans had a natural talent for cooperation and empathy, a talent that could change relationships between species entirely. Zyra's thoughts returned to the station's council reports. Most interstellar reports focused on weapons, speed, adaptability to extreme environments, or survival skills. Very little mentioned emotional intelligence or social adaptability. Zyra understood now that humans had a form of intelligence that transcended measurement. It was an unexpected trait, one that could influence entire communities without force. As the day wore on, Zyra continued to observe Alex. She noted interactions with small children from various species, some of whom were usually shy or scared. Alex played simple games, told gentle stories, and encouraged the children to participate in tasks that were usually intimidating. By the end of the day, the children were smiling, laughing, and even teaching each other small lessons about cooperation. Zyra's silver patterns shimmered faintly as she scribbled more notes. In her quarters that evening, Zyra reviewed her observations carefully. She realized that she had stumbled upon something important. Humans were not only physically resilient, but emotionally and socially resilient as well. Their traits allowed them to calm fear, inspire cooperation, and create harmony among diverse species. Zyra's mind expanded with possibilities. Perhaps this was why humans survived harsh worlds, why they explored the galaxy with such courage, and why they were able to thrive where other species might fail. Zyra felt a growing admiration, a kind of respect she rarely experienced. Humans were fragile, yes, but their fragility was paired with an inner strength no measurement could capture. That night, Zyra wrote a detailed report for the station's council. She described her observations of Alex, the human patients, and the effects they had on others. She emphasized that humans could influence both individuals and groups without force, that their strength came from empathy, patience, and adaptability, and that their presence had measurable positive effects on the medical wing's operations. As she closed her datapad, Zyra allowed herself a small smile. She understood that this discovery was more than academic. It was personal. Humans were not only fascinating, they were inspiring. Zyra felt that she had only begun to scratch the surface of understanding their true potential. From her window, she watched the station's lights glow against the blackness of space. Alex's laughter drifted faintly through the corridors as they assisted another patient, completely unaware of the profound impact they were having. Zyra's mind raced with possibilities. If humans could influence other species so naturally, she thought, perhaps the galaxy had underestimated them all along. Their ability to connect, calm, and inspire could bring unity where there had been isolation, understanding where there had been fear, and cooperation where there had been confusion. Zyra felt a quiet excitement. Tomorrow she would continue her observations, and perhaps she would finally understand the full power of the unexpected human trait. For now, she allowed herself one simple truth. Humans were extraordinary, and their strength was not in muscle, claws, or natural armor. It was in their hearts, their minds, and the way they chose to care for others. And Zyra, the careful, precise, and often unemotional nurse, felt something new, a sense of wonder and anticipation. She knew that the days to come would reveal even more about humans, and she was ready to learn. The morning sun of Arendor 7's orbit bathed the medical station in soft gold. Zyra moved through the corridors with a sense of anticipation. Today was different. She had spent 2 days observing Alex, recording interactions, studying behavior, and marveling at the subtle power of humans. Zyra was no stranger to surprises. She had seen countless species with unusual abilities, but nothing compared to what she had witnessed in this human. Today, Zyra had arranged a cooperative mission. Several species from the station were preparing for a community-building exercise, repairing a damaged habitat module that served as a home for young alien students. The task required careful planning, teamwork, and patience. Zyra watched as the group gathered, tension already visible on the faces of some species. Fear, mistrust, and hesitation lingered like invisible walls. Alex arrived carrying a small toolkit and wearing a bright, encouraging smile. Immediately, the atmosphere changed. Other species glanced at the human with curiosity, some even stepping forward, drawn by their calm confidence. Zyra observed closely, documenting every interaction. "Good morning, everyone," Alex said warmly. "We're going to fix the habitat together. If we work as a team, it will be fun and easier. Don't worry if you make a mistake, I'll help." The words were simple, but the effect was remarkable. A Gravorian, usually stern and impatient, relaxed its shoulders. A timid Felian, who often froze in group tasks, stepped forward with quiet determination. Even the robotic assistants moved more efficiently, responding to the human's friendly tone as if it carried a signal of trust. Zira's silver patterns shimmered faintly, a sign of her growing wonder. Humans, she realized, did not command or control. They inspired cooperation through patience, encouragement, and understanding. It was a power no alien species possessed naturally, and it made humans truly extraordinary. As the group began their task, Zira noticed something else. Alex didn't just focus on the work. They noticed emotions. When a young Morellian struggled to lift a panel, Alex knelt beside them and whispered encouragement, offering help without taking over. The Morellian's body glowed softly, signaling both relief and confidence. Zira recorded the interaction carefully. When a disagreement arose between a Gravorian and a Felian over tool usage, Alex intervened, not by ordering, but by listening, understanding both sides, and suggesting a solution that satisfied everyone. Zira's notes filled rapidly. Humans, she concluded, had an intuitive understanding of fairness, empathy, and motivation. Their leadership came not from authority but from connection. By midday, the habitat module was taking shape. The participants laughed, shared ideas, and worked efficiently. Zira walked among them, still observing, still recording. She realized the human presence had transformed what could have been a tense, stressful day into one of collaboration, learning, and joy. Later, during a brief pause, Zira approached Alex quietly. "Your species. I do not understand fully," she said, her voice a mix of curiosity and admiration. "You do not command. You do not threaten. Yet others follow, cooperate, and even thrive. How is this possible?" Alex smiled gently. "I just try to see people as they are, to help when I can, and to be patient. That's all I know. Maybe it seems powerful because I care about others." Zira considered the answer. It was simple yet profound. Humans did not need to dominate to influence. Their strength lay in empathy, patience, and choice. It was a kind of power invisible to scanners and charts, yet more effective than force or fear. As the day continued, Zira observed further evidence. A small group of children from different species, usually shy and hesitant, had taken initiative in the Habitat project. They shared tools, encouraged each other, and even taught younger participants skills they had learned. Zira noted that humans had a unique ability to spark confidence and curiosity in others, a trait no species possessed naturally. By the afternoon, the Habitat module was complete. Everyone cheered, hugged, and celebrated their accomplishment. Zira's mind raced. The human effect was not limited to one-on-one interactions. It could influence entire groups, fostering cooperation, learning, and growth. Humans, fragile as they appeared, had a power that could shape communities, civilizations, and possibly even the galaxy itself. Later, in the quiet of the observation room, Zira compiled her final notes. She realized her previous assumptions about species and strength were incomplete. She had studied countless species with physical advantages, speed, or natural defenses. But humans possess something rarer and more valuable: emotional intelligence and social adaptability. Zira paused, reflecting on her journey of observation. Alex had arrived as a patient, a simple human needing care. Yet in a few short days, the human had changed her understanding of strength, resilience, and influence. Zira felt a deep admiration, not only for Alex but for humanity as a whole. That evening, Zira attended the station council meeting to present her findings. Representatives of multiple species listened carefully as she explained her observations. She described how humans influenced individuals, encouraged cooperation, and inspired growth in ways no other species could. She detailed the interactions she had witnessed and the results: calmer patients, more efficient work, happier communities. "The human presence is unique," Zira concluded. "It is not their speed, strength, or natural defenses that make them remarkable. It is their ability to connect, understand, and inspire others. Their power is subtle but profound. I believe that humans, if allowed to interact with our species and others across the galaxy, could foster harmony, cooperation, and growth that no other species could achieve." The council members were quiet for a moment. Then one by one they nodded, acknowledging Zira's observations. Some whispered to each other, clearly impressed. Zira realized her words had changed their perception. Humans, once seen as fragile and insignificant compared to larger, stronger species, were now recognized as vital contributors to interstellar society. Returning to her quarters, Zira allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She had seen wonders in the galaxy, planets with floating oceans, species with incredible abilities, technologies beyond imagination, but nothing had moved her as profoundly as the human way of being. She thought of Alex laughing with children, helping the Morellian, calming the Phalian, and guiding the Gregorian. She realized that the human trait she had first observed, the ability to influence, heal, and inspire without force, was more than an unexpected curiosity. It was a force for good, a tool for change, and a reminder that even the smallest, most fragile beings could make a profound difference. That night, Zira watched the stars from the observation deck. She felt a quiet sense of hope. If humans could spread their empathy, patience, and adaptability throughout the galaxy, perhaps conflicts could be eased, communities could grow stronger, and species could learn to understand each other more deeply. Zira's heart shimmered faintly, her silver patterns reflecting the starlight. The next day, Alex prepared to leave the station. Zira accompanied them to the docking bay, carrying her final reports and a small gift, a holographic recording of the children playing in the habitat module. Alex's eyes lit up and they thanked her warmly. "You've taught me a lot," Zira admitted, her voice soft. "Not just about species or medicine, but about strength, resilience, and what makes humans remarkable." Alex smiled. "I think we learn from each other," they said simply. "I've learned a lot from you too, Zira. Maybe that's part of being human, learning, helping, and sharing." As Alex boarded their ship, Zira watched them lift off into the stars. She felt a profound sense of respect and admiration. Humans were fragile, yes, but their hearts, minds, and choices gave them a power unlike any other in the galaxy. Zira returned to her duties with renewed energy. She began sharing her observations with other nurses, doctors, and even students at the station. She taught them to notice the subtle power of empathy, patience, and encouragement. Slowly, the medical wing began to adopt some of the human ways. Patients became calmer, cooperation improved, and the atmosphere grew warmer and more welcoming. Zira realized that the galaxy might never fully understand humans, but she did. And in that understanding, she found hope. Hope that one day, humans could help unite species, spread compassion, and inspire cooperation on a scale that no technology or weapon ever could. And somewhere in the distant stars, Alex continued their journey, unaware of the lasting impact they had left on a single alien nurse. And, perhaps on the galaxy itself. Zira smiled, her silver patterns glowing faintly. She understood now that the human trait she had first observed, the ability to connect, care, and inspire, was not just remarkable. It was essential. It was a reminder that true strength often comes from the heart, and that even the smallest acts of kindness could ripple through the universe in ways no one could predict. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers, yet Zira knew one thing clearly: humans had a gift that could change everything. And for the first time in her long career, Zira felt certain that the universe would be a better place because of it.